that really stung. He really got me. He's one of the few people ever verbally that got me. So I made sure that from then on, I not only had a tennis racket, but I had a couple of balls with me, just so I could never be said again. And I'm going to have a tennis racket with me in Carrollton, and I'm also going to have a couple of balls. It's just that the balls I'm going to have currently are attached to Mr. Getz.
I have to ask this question before we start heading in that direction one more time. I have to ask the question. We've all on this network and on this station offered up who we'd considered to have on our Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling managers. From you yourself, who perpetually makes that list and makes the mountain, who would you have on your personal Mount Rushmore of managers over the years?
Well, if I have to stay out of it, and I'd prefer to, because that way people won't be quoting me across America. Cornette put himself on his tell us how great he is. Bobby Heenan is the best of all time, and that of which there is no doubt. As a matter of fact, J.J. Dillon and I agreed amongst ourselves last year, I believe it was, might even been the year before, that a lot of people say, oh, JJ, you're the greatest manager, or Cornette, you're the greatest manager, that neither one of us would accept the award, that we would insist, both of us, that Bobby Heenan is number one. Either one of us will be happy to be number two. We can argue about that later. But so, I mean, you've got Bobby Heenan, you've got James J. Dillon, you've got Gary Hart, you've got my old friend Jimmy Hart. I've much more liked his work in Memphis, where he was the greatest territory manager of all time, I think, and instead of the WWF stuff, because I never liked WWF stuff. I always liked Bobby Heenan before he went to the WWF, when he was working for Bruiser or Vern. I always liked everybody before they went to the WWF. Anyway, I'm not answering the question now, am I? You got so many great managers, and I've mentioned just a few, that it's hard for me to say. And then how far back do you go to previous generations? Because, my God, what about Dr. Ken Ramey of the Interns? What about Gentleman Bobby Davis, who Bobby Heenan was named after, who walked to the ring with the Graham brothers and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers and folks of that ilk, for God's sake, or Wild Red Berry, the first manager to do a great promo, maybe. Where do you draw the line? We can't do this. What we have to have instead of a Mount Rushmore with only 4, we have to have wallpaper. We just kind of line the wall, at the top with all the great managers.
Never really thought of it that way. Okay.
Well, that's actually because that's what my wife is doing in the room right now. She's looking around to see how she's going to change my wallpaper while my dog plays with her ball. By the way, you can follow my dog Harley Quinn Cornette at Quinnaroony. That's QUINNAROONI at Quinnaroony on Twitter. I'm working on her having more followers than Vince Russo.
I was waiting on something like that.
So was I. Shane, come on in.
But you get more of that on Saturday. I shouldn't do too much, or elsewise they might not come to the experience live. Expect more people to be verbally abused.
Well, since I won't be out for the experience to ask a question, I'll do it here on this platform. Jim, with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I just have to ask from promoter to promoter in that realm. Was there any point in time, a particular match, a particular night, or an event where you looked around and you said, damn, we might be on the cusp of something good here, where a night just flowed so good that you knew you had something in it?
Oh, in Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Oh, God, yes, about once a month, or else why we would have done it so fucking long. Really, when you go back and you look at the events, yes, there were a lot of dreary school gym spot shows in West Virginia or East Tennessee or Eastern Kentucky, but there was also yearly a huge near sellout in Knoxville in August, and a huge turnout also in Johnson City, our biggest of the year, in August. And April, we always did the Bluegrass Brawl in Pikeville, which was our annual show where we'd bring in a really great lineup and do sell out of a couple of thousand people. And there was the Christmas shows where Christmas weekend and Thanksgiving weekend, we'd do in excess of a couple or 3,000 people in Knoxville. And the other, events. So there were always, great shows to go along with that was the great thing about a territory, and also the insidious thing about a territory. it would keep you hooked, because there was always the corner was always there to be turned the very next week.
I want to ask one other real quick, and I know this is going to be a nerd techie word question, so I'll preface it like that. Can you describe what you feel to be the difference between professional wrestling and independent wrestling?
Oh, gosh. Actually, what it might be more apropos to say, the difference between professional wrestling and performance wrestling. Because there are plenty of people on independent wrestling promotions that try and or succeed to do professional wrestling, but a lot of times there's a lot of people also that are just doing performance wrestling. To me, it's gotten to that point that you almost have to look at them as sports entertainment. Is more often performance wrestling, but you can kind of get a little really high-level pro wrestling in there, too, because the top guys are still pro wrestlers. They just call them different. But I think basically it comes down to the line when you've lost complete grasp or control or thought or intent of presenting a simulated conflict or contest, and you've gone full head-on into just giving an exhibition of athletic choreography. You've gone from professional wrestling to performance wrestling. And where that line lay is a lot of times in the eye of the beholder, then, of them.
Okay.
Who is beholding it?
Okay.
So there you have it. But yeah, when you quit trying to act like you're really having a contest and people are supposed to believe this shit, and you go into, I'm just going to entertain people with a series of, choreographed and or simulated fighting moves like Jackie fucking Chan. I like Jackie Chan's movies, but I never really paid to see him fight anybody on pay-per-view. So see, it's a whole different genre for me.
I got you.
And that's so. And the Young Bucks fans, maybe both of them in North Georgia. Actually, I think they got two north of Macon. If they want to come and debate me at the Q&A, that's fine also, and I'll be glad to discuss that with them as well.
Yeah,
because that's the classic example of the other side. There's the kids that go, well, they're putting smiles on people's faces. It's all about entertaining people. Oh, for Jesus Christ, give me a break. That's the constant debate that we have with the Justin Bieber fans of professional wrestling.
I love that line. Thank you so much. Permission to steal it.
Well, you can't please spread it around that I'll be there this Saturday the 7th. Doors open for the experience at 4:30, so that actually it starts at 5 o'clock, and we're just going to go from there. And I'm going to go from here, since I've done what I set out to do, which was raise awareness of the insidiousness of Justin Bieber fans in wrestling liking the Young Bucks and their video game wrestling matches. More Saturday at the live experience.
Real quick, we'll ask you to do the shameless thing, as I always do. Let everybody know how they can track you down on social as well as the website.
Well, all you got to do is go to JimCornette.com, and that tells you where you can buy my brand new book, which is JimCornette.com. That's where you can read my columns, which is JimCornette.com. That's where you get all my other merchandise, which is JimCornette.com, and my podcast, my weekly podcast, The Jim Cornette Experience, on MLWRadio.com, or you can go to JimCornette.com. And pretty much otherwise than that, you can come ask me in Carrollton in person.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the legendary Jim Cornette. Right here, back to basics. Hang tight. We'll be back right after this.